you all coming out tonight. And now I have the privilege of introducing our president. Will Murray.
How soon we forget.
Introduction. Welcome to each and every one of you. Thank you, Vera. Now it's my pleasure to welcome all of you again, distinguished Toastmasters, honored guests, and viewers at home.
We have some
We do have some very esteemed guests here.
We've also got good.
And I'll start with the, this is, you stand up.
Well, your president here has been twisting my arm for quite some time to come here and check things out. So that's what I'm doing tonight. And also, public speaking was kind of something I was good at in high school and college. It's kind of an interest because of that as well.
Great.
Thank you. Standing over here, two more guests. We have the Assistant Area Governor, Don Wadley.
Yes.
Wow.
Yep. That's one of them, and yes, that's why I'm here tonight. So we're going to have some conversations later, I hope. Cool.
Hope so too.
But he's also another role.
What's that?
That's all right. That'll take the rest of the meeting to go through all that.
Let's see what he is.
Let's see, what else am I? I'm president of the Quad Cities Advanced Club, and I'm District 19 Public Relations Officer.
Right.
I think that's it. I hope that's it.
Man with many hats. And then the next to you is Wayne.
Wayne Ryan. I belong to the Burlington Club. I'm Vice President of Education down there.
Thank you both. Looking around, that's all the guests we have. So I will now welcome our Toastmaster. There she is, Tom Traynor.
Thank you, Will. What's the mission of a Toastmasters Club? It's to provide a mutually supportive and positive learning environment in which
every member
has the opportunity
to develop oral communication and leadership skills, which in turn fosters self-confidence and personal growth.
You can find this Toastmasters Club every Tuesday night in the First United Methodist Church at the corner of B and Briggs Street. You just enter through the double doors in the parking lot and listen for all the laughter and applause. We're in the lower level in the community room. So please come and join us. Our theme tonight is myth and beliefs. Myths and beliefs. Now, Fairfield has a lot to offer in that department. And here to carry along the theme of myths and beliefs, we'd like to jump right into our program and begin with table topics.
How about you?
However, we have to do all our role players first.
Cinnamon.
Pardon?
Cinnamon?
Cinnamon? Yes, cinnamon rolls.
Oh, so
Poppy seed.
Poppy seed, lemon poppy seed. Yes, all of the rolls. Let's start off with our odd counter, and here to introduce the odd counter roll is Dan Craig.
Yo!
As I counter, my role is to keep track of filler words and to give a report at the end. I'll be looking for ahs, ums, likes, so's, buts, ands, tongue clicks, pauses, repeats, and false starts. I'll let you know how it goes.
Yo!
Yep, and as Dan said, he'll give a report at the end of the meeting. Our next role player is the general evaluator. That's Seth Braun. You'll see him later in the meeting.
Yay!
warmly welcome tonight our grammarian, Jeff Shipley.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. I'll be fulfilling the role of the grammarian this evening. My primary responsibility is to select the word of the day and record its usages. The word of the day today is faith. Confident belief or trust in a person, idea, or thing. Because when you're dealing with myths and beliefs, sometimes you just gotta have faith. The other aspects of my job is to note all awkward or misuse of words and also creative language. I'll also give a report at the end of the meeting. Thank you.
Our timer tonight is Darlene.
Good evening, everybody. I have faith that you will all stay in your time. So my job is to keep track of the time. Table topics are 1 to 2 minute speeches. The green light is turned on at 1 minute. The yellow light is turned on at 1 minute 30 seconds. And the red light is turned on at 2 minutes and remains on until the end of the speech. Prepared speeches are usually 5 to 7 minutes. The icebreaker is 4 to 6 minutes. Some advanced level speeches are longer. The green light is turned on at 5 minutes. The yellow light is turned on at 6 minutes. And the red light is turned on at 7 minutes and remains on until the end of the speech. We have one speech this evening that will be 8 to 10 minutes. Evaluations are 3 minutes. The green light is turned on at 2 minutes. The yellow light is turned on at 2 minutes 30 seconds. And the red light is turned on at 3 minutes and remains on until the end of the evaluation. I'll give a report at the end of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Darlene. Our greeter, Joke Master, has been replaced by, who was it? The greeter, Joke Master. Anybody? Volunteers?
I got a joke.
We got a joke? Ron's got a joke. Thank you, Ron. We'll do that. And our ballot and leader counter, Jokey couldn't make it tonight. So it's going to be Satish. I only work with him.
That guy.
That guy, yes. Our quality control manager. All right, let's move on to table topics. Table topics is that near knee trembling, tongue twisting, stomach churning, off your cuff speaking. And who's going to lead it? Jean Symington Craig. Please warmly welcome Jean.
Who does not have a role tonight and would like to come up and be a target? Rahul. Pick a number between 1 and 6. 1. So which one I want to
You can choose any number you want.
All right. What is your favorite mythological character and why?
Thank you. Good evening, friends. Fellow Toastmasters, honored and esteemed guests and viewers at home. My name is Rahul Vaz. And this is a very intense and interesting topic for me to speak on. Because you asked me which is my favorite mythological character. And believe it or not, I have so much faith in it that it is just like real for me. Totally real. My most favorite mythological character is Lord Rama. And for one simple reason. In the book Ramayana, he set the example for living the life in the most ideal manner. And it is intense because yesterday when we were driving back from our Hawaii trip, me and two other of my friends and my wife, we were having an intense discussion on Ramayana. And I was having a hard time justifying the character that Rama had in Ramayana. Because at the end of it all, not many girls would appreciate him for having tested his wife and then still leaving her when she needed him the most. And the only thing that I could have said at that time was, at times in your life, there is a bigger picture that you fail to see, which is what he saw. And not many people could appreciate that bigger picture when you really need to. And the message that he gave at that time was, it is more important to honor what you say and to honor your words and put your life at stake to fulfill your commitment and words without flinching and being affected by the pain that it will inflict on you. So no matter what people think of him, I feel that he was very true and very sincere to whatever he said in his life, and he was the perfect role model for me, and it's a character I relate with. Thank you. Thank you again.
Hands raised for anyone who doesn't have a role. And I think we have, I'm going to go with Tom because Tom had his hand up there first. So because we like to call on people that don't have roles. Good old Tom. So
Take a question.
two through six.
You do it.
I'm the master. You are the target.
I know. Take a question.
You have to pick a number first.
How about 54? That's between 4 and 5. 4 or 5.
4. He's picking 4. Jot that down. Now let's see. If you're going to be a myth, or want to be a myth, you'd better die young. This is a quote. If you're going to be a myth, or want to be a myth, you'd better die young. Your thoughts?
Madam Tabletop Ambassador, fellow Toastmasters, honored distinguished guests, viewers at home. To be a myth or not to be a myth? Interesting thought is that you have to die. Well, first of all, I'm going to inform you something that you're not really all aware of. You're all already dead. You just think you're alive. You've defined what you see your life as. But when your life gets larger, you realize you never really fit what they describe as life. You're really dead. Now, some people have faith that they're going to be okay with that. I like the word trust, and it's right here in the definition. See, faith is a word that has to use trust to define it. If you go through the dictionary, the only word that you can use that doesn't use the other words to define itself is trust. Trust has about 22 definitions in the unabridged, full 45-pound dictionary, the kind that the libraries have, which a friend of mine actually got at this library sale for $1. So we went through it, we're looking up faith and religion and all these other words. We finally realized that all these other words run you back, but the only one that defines itself is trust. Trust is defined. 20 of the definitions are people who have a fiduciary relationship with money. Bankers, lawyers, accountants, people that deal with money, stockbrokers, blah, 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 blah. The last two definitions don't have that, but they say it this way. Trust is knowledge received from the intuitive side of the mind, followed immediately by the next definition. Action taken regardless of the consequences, just like the mind. Take the action regardless of the consequences, because that's what you know is the right thing to do. I wanted to tie those two together. I am a myth. We're all myths. We're all dead. Have a good day.
quote, "In every age, the good old days were a myth. No one ever thought they were good at the time. For every age has consisted of crises that seemed intolerable to the people who lived through them." Your thoughts?
Viewers at home and guests, thank you. I think I'll take you back to when I was in a valley away from where I grew up, teaching a one-room school. And what happened to me there was a test of faith. I didn't know anybody. And there was a 15-year-old girl started this school term, and there was way too many students, so they called me. I was out in the field picking tomatoes, and these Amish men walk out and say, "We really need your help. We hear that you're a possible candidate." And so I dropped everything and went and helped this girl. She helped me for a few weeks till I settled in. And what I want to tell you, where faith and tests really came, was the neighbors were old mountaineer people, lived in the foothills of the mountains. They'd bring firewood over and help me out in the wintertime. Well, as that season drew to a close, they were getting too old to drive. I bought their pickup truck, my first vehicle. And so at that time, I was preparing to move to here. And I had was also a beekeeper, so I had these 55 hives of bees. And my brother said, if we bring them to Fairfield, he'll just take them over. I really didn't want to do that when I got here. And here, to get here though, I had this red pickup truck, which was an automatic, and my brother had a pickup truck with a stick. Well, the bees were loaded on the stick, and it was like wobbling so much. No, they were loaded on the other truck. So I was like, I can't handle this load wobbling like this. And so he says, well, you got to learn stick, because that's what the other truck was. So here I was heading to Iowa, not knowing stick shift, and put on Route 80, which was the biggest test of faith in my whole life, not really knowing where I'm going. And to top it off, I had no license plate.
And the bees were in the back during this whole process? No, jerking when you're learning a stick. All right, that's it for table topics. Timer, did all of our candidates qualify? And which ones are they?
They all qualified. Raul, Tom, and Vera Elizabeth.
All right. So please go ahead and vote for your favorite, and then we'll pick those up. Now I'd like to invite the table topics evaluator to come forward and give some feedback on our table topics. Who is that individual? I don't have my agenda with me.
Ron.
Who? I'm sorry? Table topics about.
Oh, yes.
We don't.
I think I missed something. Madam Table Topics Minister, fellow Toastmasters, guests, distinguished guests. Okay. Raul did a great job. He always does this. He has a great commanding presence. He came out, spoke to us, looked us in the eye, shared with us his insights. And interesting is, his end of Ramayana is very, very sensitive, because it seems so unlike him. But your point is well taken. But you did a good job of delivering as always. The challenge for all of us is to slow down, take a good breath, engage each person, deliver a point, and try to draw the whole crowd in, the whole audience in, as we're doing that. But the real challenge, as you know, for table topics is that we're on the spot making it up. So something gets lost in the shuffle, we do a great job. Let's see, we had Vera, of course, did a fabulous job. He came up. But as you as you know, you have a tendency to sort of lock into one place, one side or the other, and kind of go back in to figure out what you're going to say. And a lot of us do. We go into this inside recollection. We kind of go like this. But we want to fight that and try to go out. It's not so much what you say as is, for now, to be engaging, to engage the folks, to feel comfortable up here. Words aren't so important. Remember, 70% of our message is words. 38% is how we deliver the words, and the other rest of it is our body. So the whole overall impact is much more significant and memorable than the actual words that we say. So just relax and enjoy. But you're doing great. Just tremendous work since you started. And then we had the third one. And that was Tom, of course. How could I forget Tom? What's the name of Tom? Yeah. Tom, of course, has had a little more polish. He's been at this a little bit longer. And he does a great job. And you can see that when you watch Tom when he speaks. He's very relaxed. He comes out, he owns the stage. He owns the audience. He's going to make his points. He's going to take you along on the ride. And that's a great role model to be. And it's always a little more challenging to say, Tom, hey, maybe do a little bit more of this or a little bit more of that. The only thing I've noticed over time is that because you are so relaxed and so comfortable, that sometimes it comes across almost like too casual in a sense. Like you don't take it really very serious because you've done it so many thousands of times. And in a way that kind of carries across like, don't take me so serious. Whereas really everything you say is very well delivered and meaningful, and so it should be. So maybe a little more gravitas, not enough to make it heavy, but just enough so that it's not too flippant with hello, with this kind of, you do this hand gesturing thing, and that's fun, but you do it a lot, you do it all the time. Perhaps maybe try something a little bit from that, if I can suggest that. Those are my suggestions. Thank you very much. I'd like to turn this back over to our Toastmaster. Yeah, right, Toastmaster.
Okay, we've had table topics, we've had the evaluation, and we've had the vote. Now it's time for the main event, the entree, as my husband always says, the prepared speeches. Now, what myths or beliefs do you think our prepared speakers are going to weave into their talks tonight? Well, let's find out. Please warmly welcome Rahul Bhatts as he reads objective for Will Burns' speech. Let's welcome Rahul.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Once again, good evening, friends, guests, esteemed guests, and viewers at home. I'd like to first introduce the project. The project is CC number 5, Your Body Speaks. And believe it or not, I haven't seen a person who is better at this than the person who is going to speak. So it's going to be a really easy evaluation time for me as far as I think. And to read my objectives for the speaker, I would be observing his stance, movement, gestures, facial expression, eye contact to express his message and achieve his speech purpose. I would see if his body language convey his message and if his body language is smooth and natural. At this point of time, I'd like to introduce my speaker, Mr. Will Burns, who is a member here and our current president. He works at Genetic ID and is an ex-Army veteran. And as I said, nobody better than to observe for body speaking.
Thank you, Rahul. Fellow Toastmasters, honored and distinguished guests, and viewers at home. I am such an idiot. I have just missed another crucial deadline. Show of hands. How many of you have missed something crucial? That's a lot of you. And I feel for you, just as I felt for myself. That pain and anxiety. that I felt. I can relate to, that you all felt. I know how I dealt with it. Panic. I freaked out, I pushed myself, and I got the job done. But it wasn't fun. And it is my hope here today that I can outline 3 things to avoid the next crisis from happening again to myself and to each and every one of you. Number 1, remove distractions.
Nice.
I am the worst about distractions. I love life. I love to learn things. I love to experience things. And if any of you remember my icebreaker, my greatest mortal enemy is Wikipedia.
Preach it.
It grabs me and just holds me for hours to the detriment of everything else. The trick there is knowledge of that fact. I can't get into that because I know what it does to me. That is my Balrog, my bugbear.
Nice.
Number 2, break it down. The human mind is an incredible thing, but it can be paralyzed by inaction at the thought of an enormous task, a task in front of us. And as each and every one of you, with the exception of the guests, one of the guests, there too are Toastmasters. As Toastmasters, we take on big challenges. We take on big tasks. So that paralysis is a risk for us. How do we do that? We break it down into something, how big?
Bite size.
Bite size. Big enough to do something significant today to move forward. Finally, push. And that's probably the most important. And I can't emphasize this enough. Push! Because really, that's where it all happens. We've removed distractions. We've broken it down. And now, it's game day. We have arrived at this moment. We're ready to go, to roll, ready to go. What it comes down to? Pushing. When I had the pleasure of serving ROTC college, that was always a big emphasis they had in molding the future leaders, future officers, the U.S. military, to take action. Sometimes it wasn't the right action. A lot of time I spent a lot more time as an Indian than I ever did as a chief, but the lesson held true. When you're a chief, be a chief. When you're an Indian, be an Indian. But either way, you better be pushing. So I've outlined here 3 things today that you can do. I will reiterate. That if you manage to remove your distractions, break it down, and push, you can actually accomplish the project. Whether it be a business goal, whether it be a personal thing, whether it be driving your bees and your life with no license, just faith and trust in your ability to guide you through. I think this is important really because we're not, as people, this defines us. That if you want to be a self-determining being, human being, to decide to better yourself, as all of you do by being here today, and by the steps you take, you must take action. To go inside, to push, to become the change you wish to be. Thank you.
All right, now let's take 2 minutes of push to evaluate. Okay, welcome back. Our next speaker is Jesus Rios, and here to introduce him and read his objectives for his speech, number 7, is Diane Denba. Please welcome Diane.
Good evening, everyone, viewers at home, guests, and fellow Toastmasters. Jesus is doing project number 7, research your topic from the Competent Communicator Manual. His objectives are to collect information about your topic from numerous sources and to carefully support your points and opinions with specific facts, examples, and illustrations gathered through research. I was asked to write his biography, his intro. So here's what I have to say about Jesus. He is an entertainer, he's magical, he's a hard worker. I think he drives a purple truck. He's wearing a purple shirt. He has a lovely girlfriend that I got to meet recently. He's humorous, and he's authentic and kind. So I'd like to welcome Jesus for his speech.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, and viewers at home. A guy walking down the street, stopping a building office, looking outside, pulls the door open, walks into the office, kicks the trash can, gets to the counter, and clears everything, the phone, flowers, notebooks, and he asks the lady at the desk, "Is this the place where they're looking for an aggressive salesman?" That was taking the wrong approach. He wanted to change his life by getting a better job, but definitely that was not the way to do it. And sometimes we tend to do that. We try to do some changes in our lives, but we're not quite sure which direction we must take. And in times, we might take the wrong path. In my journey through life, and in my growth as a Toastmasters, I can describe myself with 2 words: vivacious philomath. I like to learn. I never gardened in my life before, but a couple of years ago, a guy that I work with, he asked me if I wanted to help him plant some potatoes, which I feel the moral obligation to help him, because in previous years he always told me, you need some tomatoes, you need some corn, just go to the garden and help yourself. At the time when I helped him, I got such joy of doing it. It was a miracle that I knew that I was planting on the dirt a little seed of cucumber, and I knew what the end result was going to be. I knew I was going to get a lot of cucumbers. We planted some cantaloupes, and just one simple seed, actually 2 or 3 seeds per hole, and I knew what the possibility that was going to come out as a result of putting those seeds on the ground. Well, nothing happened. The deer got it. I tried to educate myself about gardening and planting, and I run across something called hydroponics. I had the fortune that a fellow Toastmaster direct my attention to a certain guy out of Milwaukee that he does hydroponic. Once I started watching his videos and learning his activities, he became somewhat of my hero. Because the idea that he has is what I would like to pursue. I like to do that. And then my idea of hydroponic jumped to aquaponics, which is a combination of planting vegetables and growing fish. The fish will provide the nutrients for the plant, and the plant, as the water cycles through the flower beds, the plant beds, it will clear the water for the fish. So this is a win-win situation. And I thought that that was a really possibility, something that I can do. As a matter of fact, something that anybody can do. If you have a little space and a counter, you can do it in your garage, in your backyard. You can take a field, and if you take 1 acre of land, you can produce as many as you will produce in 10 acres because you can stack them up in different layers. And you can do it in half the time. It will grow fast, twice as fast. And knowing the situation that we are right now with the global warming and using all the fossil fuels, when you plant the wheat, for instance, let's say when you eat a sandwich, we never think about this. When you take a sandwich, we go back to the origin, to the beginning. We can help it but to think and be aware that the wheat was, the ground was worked with a machine. They use oil. When the time comes, they have to put fertilizers and pesticides, which are oil-based material. When the fruit is ready to be picked, it had to be picked up by a machine that uses oil. And by the time they had to cut it, it's another machine, and then they had to take it to the store to be processed. That's another machine that uses oil. And that's just thinking on the bread, not considering the meat of the sandwich. So basically, by the time you get the sandwich, your sandwich should look like this. I mean, that's one way of looking at it. Oil, oil, oil. Aquaponics is so simple. You don't need much space, you don't need much equipment. One of the main equipment that you will need is a thermometer, something that will measure the temperature on your fish tank, and at the same time will measure the temperature for the atmosphere, the air. You don't need big equipment, you don't need tractors, you don't need 18-wheelers. You just need a simple pump. Then quite easily you can plug it into a solar panel, which will use no energy whatsoever. Well, coming from oil anyway, or they will require oil. This little pump will pump 400 liters per hour. It's a lot of volume for a little pump. This information was gathered from a book called Aquaponic and Gardening. I got some of my information from the internet, Wikipedia, YouTube, and also from my website called Aquaponics Do It Yourself. And I am thrilled, and I feel that my life has been enriched with the knowledge that I'm acquiring, and I know that this is just the beginning. I encourage you to do the same. You can better your life by growing your food, knowing that what you're eating is healthy, is fresh, is organic. You know what the fish ate. You know what the plants is being fed. You know what it doesn't have. Something really simple that we can do at a different level. Small, intermediate, or big if you want to go big. Well, I like to say one more thing. Just do it. Para Toastmasters.
Please take 2 minutes to evaluate Jesus' speech. All right, let's hear from our third speaker. And tonight, it's one of those special, momentous, and faith-leaping events. Stacy is doing number 10, and with her tonight's speech, she will have completed her CC manual. All right. Please warmly welcome Art Atkinson as he gives some objectives and introduces Stacy tonight.
Good evening, Toastmasters and guests. Thank you, Cindy. You stole my thunder. I wanted to be the one to say, we have a treat tonight. We have an inspiration, and it's worth a second round of applause. Stacy is reaching this level of achievement, having been a member for about a year and a half of Golden Speakers. She has been our Sergeant at Arms, she has been our VP of Education, and she is, as we hopefully all know, passionate about gardening and about all things to do with growing plains. She works at MUM in the Sustainable Living Department, where she teaches courses in agriculture and ecology. Currently working on a grant to expand the composting operation there and to enroll farmers to try out the compost and to try out compost tea on their crops. Tonight, she will share with us why compost will save the world and inspire each of us to do our part in saving the world through compost. Her objectives are to appeal to us emotionally rather than purely with logic, and to engage us in, engage our desire to act nobly and for the benefit of the world. She's to use no notes. This is an 8 to 10 minute talk. If possible, use no notes to focus on what we get out of being enrolled in saving the world through compost. So let's welcome Stacy Maurer.
What I have in this pot will save the world. Fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, viewers at home, this is compost. We have compost in this pot. What is compost, you say? Well, compost is basically decomposed organic matter. Farmers and gardeners make it to put on their crops and on their gardens. They take things like hay and straw, manure, wood chips, weeds or plants from the garden, grass clipping, leaves, all these things, and mix them together and do a special process. And when it's done, you have something like this. Rich smelling, very nice. I'll pass that around.
Yeah, we can't talk about the floor.
Don't spill it on the
Can't drop it on the floor, Stacy, so you better put it back in there.
Somebody's gonna have to vacuum.
Yeah.
Pass the pot around.
Good idea, good idea. Thank you, Mayor.
Compost is a wonderful thing for soil. If you have compacted sort of clay soil, it'll help loosen it up. If you have sandy soil, it'll help it retain the moisture and retain nutrients. Any soil you have, it'll help the soil, give the soil more nutrients, which will lead to healthier plants. And the reason the compost has the nutrients in it is because it's from the organic matter that it's made from. But also, more important, if you have just a little bit of compost, like a teaspoonful, it has millions and millions of microorganisms in there. And all those microorganisms will help make the nutrients available to the plants. This is how nature works. The plants, they take energy from the sun, they photosynthesize, they make carbohydrates and sugars. That's what plants do. Plants make their own food. They're really good. But they do need a little bit of micronutrients, and the microorganisms give them those micronutrients, while the plants give the microorganisms all the excess sugars they have, because they can make a lot, you know. There's a lot of carbon dioxide, they just need a little bit of water, they can make a lot of sugars. Feed those microorganisms are feeding those plants the nutrients. And this is this wonderful reciprocal relationship. That's how nature works. And that's how it's worked for millions and millions of years on this earth. No one ever fertilized an old growth forest, yet the trees are huge. Beautiful relationship. So this is what compost can do, and this is how compost can save the world. Compost can basically fertilize the soil and restore the soil. Because unfortunately, many of the soils on Earth are degraded. They've been eroded away because they've been tilled too much and left bare. In Iowa, for example, the soil is bare most of the year because our crops only grow in the summertime, a little bit in the spring, a little bit in the fall. And the soil just washes away when we have a flood, and it blows away if we have a windstorm. Iowa's lost over half of the soil, half of the topsoil due to erosion. And in Iowa also, in many parts of the world, the soil has been degraded by chemicals, chemical fertilizers and chemical pesticides. And these chemicals are killing the soil microorganisms in the soil. And so that relationship where the soil microorganisms are feeding the plants and the plants are feeding the microorganisms no longer works. And so the plants require those chemical fertilizers because that's how they're getting some nutrients. And then because they're sick and unhealthy, because how healthy would you be if the only nutrients you got were nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, maybe some calcium occasionally? You know, how healthy would you be? The plants are sick, and so they can't fight off pests and diseases. So they need more chemicals to get those away from them. But compost can save the world because compost can restore the soils. How many of you have seen the airplanes and those huge, huge machines going down the road with the big booms and they're spraying the fields? How many of you have seen that? Yeah. When we get over our war mentality of agriculture, where we have to kill everything except in the field, except the plant that's growing there, we'll be able to restore the soils with compost, and we'll be able to restore the soils with compost tea, which is a nice liquid form of compost that you could spray over large areas. We'll be able to spray compost tea with those big machines and restore the soil. And instead of killing the soil with poisons, we'll be restoring the soil and adding soil nutrients and soil health to the soil. And that will enable us to have healthy plants, healthy animals, and healthy people that eat the plants and animals. So fellow Toastmasters, this is how compost can save the world. And it's very important because the soils are what we depend on for our food. So compost will save the world. Stop. Hold it, hold it, hold it. How many of you were sucked in by that? Is there any one thing that's going to save the world? Is there any one thing that's going to do it? As much as I hate to say it, because I love composting, I love organic agriculture, it's my passion, it's what I love to talk about, it's what I love to practice, that one thing is not going to save the world. It's an important piece, it's a big piece, an important piece, but it's not the one thing that's going to do it. But if we all do our passions, and we all find out what inspires us and what excites us in this world, and works to make the world a better place, maybe that will be what will save the world. Fellow Toastmasters, why are we here? Why are we here tonight? What is our purpose to be here?
Self-confidence and personal growth.
Right. What else? What else?
Learning environment.
Communicate. Yes, learning. I joined Toastmasters to be a better communicator, to be a better speaker, to be comfortable speaking in front of a group. And this is as comfortable as I get. Still a little butterflies, but they're hopefully flying in formation. So we have our passions, we have our interests, but now we need to communicate about them effectively. We need to share them with others. So that's why we're here at Toastmasters. So how do we become better communicators and better speakers? We speak. Fellow Toastmasters, I hear that there are openings in the weeks ahead. There are open slots for speaking. Talk to Jyoti, email him, send him an email, tell him you want to speak, sign up to give your next speech. We can save the world if we follow our passions and if we can communicate it to other people. Madam Toastmaster.
Please take 2 minutes to evaluate Stacy's speech. All right. Wrap up your evaluations. And while we're doing that, please, let's find out from Darlene how our speakers did. Is everyone in time?
No, our qualified speakers are Will and Stacy.
Okay, so please vote for either Will or Stacy.
So good.
Moving on, now we turn our attention to the evaluation portion of the meeting. Please join me in warmly welcoming our general evaluator who will run this portion, Seth Brine.
Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, viewers at home, and guests. We're moving into the final dessert portion of the meeting. We may have a beverage, relax a little bit, and we will bring out the instruments of torture at this time. The first one to inflict the pain of growth, Rahul Vats. Rahul Vats, our first
I don't remember when I had a better introduction than that. All right. Moving ahead. As of this point, I'd like to mention a statutory warning. All the views expressed in this program are solely the owned entity of Mr. Rahul Wells. I don't know if anybody else would agree with that, but here is what I have to say for Will. Will was speaking on his Competent Communicator project number 5, Body Speaks, and I already have told you, Will is a personal embodiment of natural body movement. If there is anybody who I would like to idolize in terms of body movement, it will be Will. All right, his talk was Move It Up and Move It Out. Interesting talk selection. Going through the manual, I'll read the points and tell how he fared with those points. Was its topic selection appropriate? Yes, it was, and it facilitated body language. How was the preparation? I felt it was excellent. He had great information which was communicated to everybody, and everybody could relate with what he was saying, and so the preparation element was definitely seen because I could relate with what you were saying. What was the manner in which the speech was delivered? I felt it was very confident and very enthusiastic. Will was looking like he wants to share something and want to convey his message across. As my fellow evaluator told us before and earlier in his evaluation, your message is 7% of the words that you say, 38% is the delivery, and rest is body movement, vocal variety, and the other thing. If that's true, and I know it's true because Ron is a very esteemed member here at Toastmasters, Will definitely conveyed his message across. His posture was poised and balanced, his gestures were natural and evocative, eye contact established with almost everybody. He has animated, friendly, genuine eye gestures. His speech purpose was very clear. His speech organization was logical and clear. Now, what could have speaker done differently to make speech more effective? At this point of time, I'd like to bring your attention to what this manual has to say. I have never read this manual before, and believe me, that's the worst thing that you could do as a Toastmaster. You should follow it really thoroughly. Here's one point, the very first point in stance. Although you should move during a presentation, occasionally you will stand still as you speak, usually during your opening and closing word. I felt Will was moving at the time you started giving your speech. So maybe you could look at that. It's a thing with stance right here in the manual. Movement should have a purpose, and I felt Will's movement was definitely purposeful. He set a point, he was here, middle, came, set another point, ended there, came back, reiterated, went over. His facial expression, gestures I've talked about. What would be another thing that I'd like him to done differently so he can improve is to give an introduction to the evaluator. I just realized how difficult for evaluator it is to speak without having an intro, but there was one. At the end, what did you like about the presentation? The very important thing that I liked in his presentation was the conviction with which it was delivered. So, thank you, Will, and thank you everyone for my evaluation and torture, as Seth said. Continue.
Next, we're going to move right along to hear from Diane Denbaum as she evaluates, also known as tortures, Jesus Rios.
Good evening again, everyone. Research your topic. Jesus, I'm going to use the manual. How well did the speaker's topic apply to the audience? I feel very well, especially in this community. We have the MUM Sustainable Living Program, many organic projects going on, greenhouses, research, so it was perfect for this town, I feel, and for the group here this evening. Was the topic well researched? I said yes. I'll tie that into the next point. How well did the speaker support his or her main points? I heard a lot of facts. And my only comment in the middle of this would be, perhaps along the way, cite your references. So if you're talking about something, in his book, whoever the gentleman was that you said his name, because I don't know him, said, just somewhere, because I wasn't sure, because the topic was researcher topic, I was wondering, is he going to refer to the resources? So I would suggest along the way. I've heard that, and that sat well with me. But yes, the question is, was the support material appropriate for the point made? When you told us, then yes, absolutely. How clear was the speaker's purpose? Very clear once it became clear to me. I love the opening humor. then you went into the plants and the deer eating it. Then you moved into gardening, and then I finally got, he's going to talk about hydroponics and then the agroponics, which was really interesting to me because I didn't know about that. So eventually, it became clear. Was the speech effectively organized? I wrote eventually, yes. Did the speaker take advantage of body language and vocal variety? I gave more credit to the gestures. You were describing something and your hand was going like this and you were cutting things. So you're fantastic at body language in my opinion. And vocal variety, I heard something. Nothing outstanding to me. And what could the speaker have done differently to improve the speech? I wrote, cite the research along the way, and then the props. Keep those out, in my opinion. The sandwich, maybe you could have planned a table or made room, but keep them out. Because it was like, oh, he's putting them away. I wanted to look at them more. They were so interesting. And bring your manual. Bring your manuals when it's your night to speak, everyone. So what did I love? I want to wrap up. The humor at the beginning, your topic, your passion, your enthusiasm, and then that great use of pause at the end where we weren't sure is it over or not, and then it was like, just do it. So thank you for sharing all that information.
Take that. And keep that. We'll have a lot of faith that our next evaluator will maintain this bloody bludgeoning that we've experienced thus far and continue to attack speakers. That's Arthur. Also known as Arthur the Barbarian.
I think we need to investigate what this man has been eating.
What's in his cup?
Or drinking. That's right. He spoke of beverages.
Compost.
Good evening, Toastmasters, and particularly Stacy. Stacy, you have been developing the most delightful comfort and command of speaking in front of a group and big hand gestures. You know, compost is wonderful stuff, and describing the carbon cycle in such an effortless way with great hand gestures. That's one of the things that is inspiring about this. That you've come from such a humble beginning as a speaker to having this level of comfort, and to be able to make a segue from your topic to Toastmasters was amazing. To be able to hook those two together and come up with a compelling why for us out of that, I thought was quite an achievement. Coming with a pot of compost for us to smell was the strongest opening that you've done that I can remember. It equals Bill Dyer having that vat full of stuff that when he did his gray water, brown water, that was an attention getter. And this little pot of stuff smelled great, and I'm glad you passed the whole thing around to us. Your objective was to engage us emotionally and inspire us to a higher level of faith, belief, action, achievement. And among the things that you did really well was that stop. You know, there were some things that you did that were real attention grabbers. The pot, that gesture. You had the forceful, confident delivery. The comfort with the audience was excellent. The topic was relevant to us. Did you use words that conveyed a strong or vivid mental image? Well, this whole killing technology and this whole killing approach to agriculture and these giant machines that we see go down the street, you use some very vivid language to describe that stuff. What could you have done differently? Well, one of the objectives, particularly about this talk, is to engage us emotionally. And one of the strongest emotions is fear. And fear of loss is a very powerful motivation to people. Supposing that you had said, okay, what would a world without compost be like? Think about the Middle East, which was at one time a Garden of Eden. Think about, and you could have gone through a little catalog of places in the world where people have failed to take care of the soil, failed to put the plant material back in, and what do we have? We have a desert. The desertification would have been the way to emotionally grab us. Like, the consequence of not doing what I'm talking about is pretty drastic, like end of life, you know, sayonara. So you could have done that, and you could have, I think, hooking up to the Toastmasters agenda and the capacity not only to have your passion but to be able to communicate it was wonderful. I just have not yet figured out how you could have done that without undercutting the power of your own commitment that compost is the thing. And privately, I'll explore with you what might be the ways. Thank you very much.
One final small piece of paper on your seat. Please vote for the best evaluator. Have all our evaluators qualified?
No.
Who qualified?
Ron Kerr qualified. Diane Denenbaugh qualified.
Ron and Diane. Ron and Diane.
Either or.
We're back. And now it is time to hear reports from our meetings role players. We're going to begin with a report from our timer, Darlene Martin. Tell us, Darlene, how did we do?
Okay, Raul. Raul for his table topics was 2 minutes and 18 seconds. Tom was 2 minutes and 8 seconds. Vera Elizabeth was 2 minutes and 26 seconds. Will Burns, his speech was 6 minutes and 24 seconds. Jesus was 7 minutes and 54 seconds. Stacy was 8 minutes, 21 seconds. Ron Kerr, his evaluation was 2 minutes, 46 seconds. The speech evaluators, Raul was 3 minutes, 54 seconds. Diane was 3 minutes, 24 seconds. Arthur was 3 minutes, 41 seconds. Thank you.
All right, that's what I'm talking about. That's some good time.
Good time was had by all.
Next, we're going to hear, I hope, a scathing report, I hope, from Dan Craig, our accountant.
Yo!
I'll put on my scathing face. Jeff had one Darlene one so. Cindy had a repeat. Jean, I'm going to hear about this at home. 2 and a so.
That's right.
Rahul, 1 2 so's. 6 ands, 1 and so. Tom was clear. Vera had 5 4 ands, 4 and us. Ron had 1 Will had 1 so, 1 and, 1 repeat. Diane had 2 3 so's. Jesus had 3 ands. Art had 3 ands, 1 you know. Stacy had 4 so's, 6 ands, 2 and so's, 1 you know. And Seth had an and.
Now, are you interested in hearing how many people use the word faith? Because I
Yes,
sure
I am.
I hope so. Let's hear from our grammarian, Jeff Schiffman.
Right, Jeff.
Well, hi, everybody. What an exciting night to be the grammarian. You all feel it? All right, foremost, faith was our word of the day. Darlene used it once. Rahul used it once. Tom, you did the best, used it 3 times. Vera used it once. Cindy used it once. Seth used it 1 time. And Art used it 1 time. And Jean used it 1 time. Also, colorful language tonight. There's a lot here, so take a seat. And this is a condensed version. A lot didn't make the cut that I really should have tried to scribble down. Cindy spoke of table topics as knee trembling, tongue tying, stomach churning. Raul in his table topics. At times in your life, there's a bigger picture you fail to see, and put your life at stake to fulfill your commitment. Gene. No, you're the target, I'm the master. Very sharp. Tom, trust is knowledge received by the intuitive side of the mind. Take the action regardless of the consequences. Ron, in your evaluation, you said 7% of our message is words, and you also spoke of more gravitas, less flippant. Will, in your speech, there was a lot, the two that stuck out for me. When you're a chief, be a chief. And then towards the end, if you want to be a self-determined being, you must take action to be the change you wish to be. Jesus, my life is enriched with the knowledge I am learning. And Stacy, in your excellent speech, there are the two awesome ones that stuck out. First, your very bold introduction. What I have here in this pot will save the world. And then towards the middle, get over the war mentality of agriculture, where we're welcome to kill everything. Sounds very good. Thank you all for giving me that. Now we're going to hear from our joke master, stepping in for Upinder Sharma, Ron Kerr.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, guests. These are my golden oldies. They're small, so I'll get a few of them. If at first you don't succeed, skydiving is not for you. It has been recently discovered that research causes cancer in rats. It may be that your sole purpose in life is simply to serve as a warning to others. A day without sunshine is like night. On the other hand, you have different families. 99% of lawyers give the rest a bad name. A clear conscience is usually a sign of a bad memory. And this is fun. How the fight started. My wife sat down on the seat next to me as I was flipping channels. She asked what's on TV. I said, dust. And then the fight started. My wife is hinting at what she wanted for an upcoming anniversary. She said, I want something shiny that goes from 0 to 150 in 3 seconds. So I bought her a bathroom scale.
Well, thank you for that humor, Ron. It's now my job as the general evaluator to evaluate the evaluators. It says right here, general evaluator. I got 4 minutes to do my sole duty. It says right there, sole duty. Just so it's clear, evaluate the evaluators. Interesting thing. You know, I've spoken at maybe 24 Toastmasters clubs around the world this year. And every club has a little different way of doing it. Our club has a very distinct way. So I'm going to attempt to follow the directions and evaluate the evaluators. I'm going to evaluate the evaluators! No, we're going to start with Ron. Ron has a way of really addressing the meta commentary. 4 minutes. Meta commentary.
No, you opened your mouth. No.
Meta commentary. Meaning that he tends to have a lot of good to say about the context, about
bigger picture in general about being a Toastmaster, about being a speaker, about being human. So this is one of the values that we get when Ron evaluates. Did a great job. That's what you said to Raul. You did a great job. But I didn't hear any. You said, and then sometimes people they have problems in these areas. But I didn't hear a lot of specifics. Like, what was it that you found was great? When you did this, I would have this experience. And then specific, I didn't hear a specific critique. So that's what I wanted to hear from you on that. Vera, you told her to move, but I thought she did. So I had a different experience of that. Otherwise, you pointed out things specifically, which I liked. Tom, relaxed, commented on his so you commented on both presentation and delivery, very good, and you gave him some great feedback, I thought. So that was well done. Moving along to Raul. You started well. You started the introduction well, you established rapport with the audience, and you really set up your speaker for success, very important. You know, if you're going to introduce somebody, set the speaker up for success. You're their launching pad. So you did that well, fist bump. Booyah. You went over time. That's the thing you didn't do well. So you got a balance going. You used the great outline in the manual. You commented on what you needed to comment on. It was appropriate to the speaker. The feedback was appropriate. Ended with a strong comment on his conviction. The thing I wanted you to comment on was the idiom use of chief and Indians. Being an Indian, and then when an American uses the word Indian, but it isn't referring to India, and uses the idiom of the chief and Indians to someone who might not have grown up in America to understand the context of the idiomatic origin, I would have liked, it would have been interesting for you to comment on that. Diane, evaluating Jesus, in my opinion, use that phrase. Do you know that? That you use that phrase when you're, like a few times when you're evaluating? Just so you know, because you might want to use it deliberately. Ha! You're great, right? You commented on what he did well, used the manual, application, research. You gave him great feedback, cite references during the talk. The piece I wanted you to comment on was articulation and enunciation, because he's referring to aquaponics. You called it agroponics in your evaluation, and then vivacious philomath. I didn't know if you meant polymath or philomath. So there was a few points that I think would have been the best, great evaluation. Arthur, Arthur's great. Arthur the Barbarian comes up and just, you pointed out the 180-degree turn, the vivid language, comfort and command. You commented both on content and delivery, which is always nice to have both. You went over time. That was the main thing that I would say you improved. But I like that you reiterated the purpose of the speech very clearly to help us see where you're coming from. That's what I have to say as general evaluator. I'd like to turn the meeting back over to our Toastmasters.
All right, are we ready with the winner?
Yay!
Please. For table topics, Vera Elizabeth. Another drum roll for best speaker. Wilbur. And Will, you were CC number
5.
5.
Yeah, confident.
And Jesus, research your topic.
Always a winner at Toastmasters.
minutes late. Let's wrap it up with
Well, Will has to come up first.
Will Burns.
Thank you, Cindy. Now we're a few minutes late, but we will still end with questions from our guests. And I'll start left to right. Wayne. Just what was your experience like? Any thoughts or any comments you have today?
What did you like about our meeting, basically?
Basically, yeah. If you did like anything about it, if you did.
No, that's not the question.
He's speechless.
If you're having fun, that's the greatest thing. You might as well have fun.
Yeah.
Don't make too much work out of it.
Moving to his left, my right, Don. What's your experience?
Oh, okay. Good presentation, good program as ever, and I got a long drive home, but I'm glad I'm here. Thank you.
My right, your left, Stan Polson. Please stand up, tell us about your experience, please, or sit.
I liked the speeches. I actually learned a lot about composting and hydroponics, two topics that I was somewhat misinformed on prior to this meeting. I like the comfortable setting here. It makes it a little bit easier for me to just talk on the spur of the moment like I am now. And I think I will be back.
You are certainly welcome back. Wayne, Don, you as well. And now, it's my great pleasure, after a wonderful meeting, such high energy. I have no idea how I'm going to sleep tonight with all this. Hopefully I'll stay away from Wikipedia and avoid staying up too late. With that, thank you all for coming out.
Help pick up.
Please help pick up. It's a huge task to set up and break down, and yeah, please help out.
Thank you.
With that, meeting adjourned.